Good day, everyone. It's been a while, and I hope you are all safe from your respective houses right now. So, since we cannot have our face to face classes due to a lot of unfortunate happenings in our country, um, we're just gonna have our discussion through an online presentation. Now, for our English American literature, we're going to tackle about one of the masterpiece of the Romanticism writer, Edgar Allan Poe. But before we start our discussion, let me ask you something first. Who among here believes in true love? Well, but do you believe that true love can last even after death? Do you believe that someone is capable of loving you even after you die? Now, Edgar Allan Poe believed that it could happen. Yes, so much that he wrote about a hauntingly beautiful poem about it. And the title of that poem is Annabel Lee. So we're going to tackle about that poem in this discussion. Now, let's dive into the tragic yet eternal love story of the speaker and his beloved Annabel Lee. And then, last question. When you think of the sea or ocean, what feelings or ideas comes into your mind? Yes? Okay. Calmness? Mystery? Uh-huh. Sadness? Infinity? Oh, danger. Thank you for your answers. Okay. In the poem Annabel Lee, the sea becomes a symbol. It becomes a symbol, not just a setting. It's not just a setting, but it became a symbol of eternal love and also grief. Yes, grief. Now let's see how Edgar Allan Poe uses it to tell one of the literature's most haunting love stories. Before everything else, let's get to know the writer first. But I'm sure everyone in this class knows Edgar Allan Poe is, right? But let's get to know him more. Here, Edgar Allan Poe was not just an American writer, he was also a poet and a literary critic. And he was born in Boston, USA in the year 1809, and he died on October 7, 1849. Now, his cause of death is still unknown. There's a lot of speculation, but nothing was proven. So they speculate that it could be rabies, it could be poisoning, but still, the cause of his death is still under mysterious circumstances. Now, Edgar Allan Poe was known to be the master of macabre. Are you familiar with this word, macabre? So, macabre is just another word or synonyms is horrifying, terrifying, morbid, gruesome, or something like that. It's related to horror. Okay? Now, he was given this title because of his works that often depicts dark themes and intense plots. So one of its example is the story or the short story that we already read in this class, which is The Telltale Heart, right? So you could imagine what I am saying right now. Now, Edgar Allan Poe pioneered Gothic literature and detective fiction. Okay, correction, he did not pioneer Gothic literature. He just kind of revolutionized Gothic literature, because before, Gothic literature often shows castles or dark castles, supernatural elements, mystery and terror, and then it is often set in Europe. Now, when Edgar Allan Poe came, he revolutionized it. He transformed Gothic literature. So from the horror happening in the castles, he transformed it, he changed it, he put it in the human's mind. So very amazing, right? Now, the horror becomes a psychological torment, not just external monsters. Do you get me? Do you follow? Alright, now, Edgar Allan Poe was one of the first author or writers who used first-person narratives to explore the madness, like the intense feelings such as madness, guilt, and obsession. So one of its examples, aside from The Telltale Heart, is The Black Cat, and of course, The Fall of the House of Usher. Now, he also blends gothic mood with romantic philosophy and symbolism. So it helps him to shape what later becomes the modern psychological horror and even the detective fiction. So one of its examples, the detective fiction, is The Murders in the Rue Morgue. Okay, next. Now, this is a picture of Edgar Allan Poe and of course his famous works, Raven, The Telltale Heart, The Fall of the House of Usher, and of course, the Annabelle Lee. So this is the story that we're going to tackle in this discussion. So the Annabelle Lee was published in the year 1849, and it was the last complete poem that Poe wrote that is published shortly after his death. Okay, now we have here the characteristics of this poem. So first we have the common themes. So these are the love that transcends death. So when you read this poem, you could encounter love, that kind of love that even death could not end. Second is obsession and mourning. So this poem does not only shows love, it also shows obsession. And then third, supernatural and gothic elements. So you could also encounter mystical and eerie imagery such as angels or jealous and chilling winds, and then the idea of spirits that could still communicate even in dreams. And then we also have the styles of this poem. So first we have the musical rhythm and rhyme. So when you read this poem, it kind of sounds like a song or a lullaby. Second, strong emotional tone. So this poem overflows with intense feeling such as love, grief. We also have passion and sorrow. And then lastly, vivid imagery. So these examples, the sea, kingdom by sea, angels, and tombs. So next. Okay, finally, this is the copy of the poem Annabelle Lee. So I want you to read it with me, okay? And then you tell me what did you feel while reading or after you read this poem. Alright, now let's start. Annabelle Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabelle Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabelle Lee. With a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabelle Lee. So that her high-born kinsmen came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabelle Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life, my bride. In her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the surrounding sea. Oh, this is so tragic. Alright, it's your turn. I want to hear from you guys. What did you feel? Or what are your thoughts about this poem? Alright, thank you. Now I will give the floor to Miss Analaya Francis. She will be in charge to elaborate this poem. Alright.
Thank you so much, Miss Austria, for reading us the literary piece of Edgar Allan Poe, which is the Annabelle Lee. Now, before we dive to the next part of our reporting, I want to know first, how do you feel? Okay, how do you feel when you were listening or reading Edgar Allan Poe's poem, which is the Annabelle Lee? Anyone? Alright, thank you so much. So most of us will agree, or all of us will agree, that their love was so strong, right? Their love was so strong that even angels above envy them. Okay, we can react like, oh, sana all, right? Like, I hope there's a man that can also treat us or love us just like how the narrator loves Annabelle Lee, right? Like, let's be real, girls. That's most of the girls' fantasy, right? Okay, thank you so much, but so much for that. Now let's proceed to the summary of Edgar Allan Poe's poem. Alright, so the poem tells us a story of a narrator that deeply loves Annabelle Lee, right? Their love was so strong that even angels above envy them. So, since the angel was so jealous, or the angels are jealous to their love, what did the angels do? Yes, the angels blew a chilling wind that caused Annabelle Lee's death. But even though Annabelle Lee dies, the narrator insists that their soul must remain united. So what did he do? The corpse of Annabelle Lee, he buried the corpse of Annabelle Lee beside the sea, and then there he always sleep beside the tomb or grave, right? He believes that even death cannot separate their love, or even death cannot separate them. So that's the summary. Alright, now let's proceed to the analyzation of the poem based on the different lenses. So before I share to you my analyzation based on the research, I want to know yours first, okay? What is your observation on the poem? Anyone? It's okay, there's no wrong answers. Alright, thank you so much. So most of you are focusing on the form of the poem, right? Or how does the poem was created, right? So the author uses imagery, very good, alliteration, yes, and rhyme, right? So the rhyming of the words creates a melodic, haunting, and melancholic tone that quickly hook the reader's attention. Okay, very good. Now, based on my research, there are lenses that really caught my attention. The first one is the biological lens. So for biological lens, Poe's poem was viewed as a reflection of his personal grief and loss. Now, can you tell me how? Anyone? Okay, thank you so much. Now, everyone, if a writer creates a poem or a story, it reflects their personal experiences. Okay? Some of their poems or stories there's a hidden meaning. Okay? Alright. So as for Poe's poem, okay, it was said that Poe's wife, Virginia Clem, died in a very young age, and that deeply affected him. So, in biographical lens, Annabel Lee becomes or often seen as a tribute to her wife's memory. This poem becomes an autobiographical elegy showing Poe's desperate longing for his lost wife. Alright, yes, that's for biological lens. Now let's proceed to psychoanalytic lens. For psychoanalytic lens, psychologists studies the narrator's mind, okay? So it was said that the repetition or the obsessive repetition and refusal to accept death can cause denial and fixation. So there was a sign of unresolved grief. Okay? It was mentioned on the poem that the narrator is clinging to the corpse of Annabel Lee, and that shows the necrophilic longing. Necrophilic longing is an inability to separate love from death. Also, the poem becomes a study of madness born from loss. Alright? It shows us how love can border on destructive obsession. Like how? How did it become an destructive obsession? Right? Okay. So, the start of the poem was very pure and innocent, right? But during the death of Annabel Lee up until the end, there is an obsession occurred. Okay, there's a sign of obsession. How? The first one is the narrator denies reality. He rejects the idea of reality. How? He said that the angel invades their love, that they blew a chilling wind that caused the death of Annabel Lee. He denies the reality that it might be a natural cause of death. Right? He denies the reality. Instead, he blames supernatural forces. Okay, that's the first one. The next one is, instead of moving on or healing from the death of his lover, what did he do? It seems like he dies too. Why? Again, instead of moving on, he clings to the corpse of Annabel Lee, insisting that death cannot separate them. Alright. The next one is his love becomes madness. Because of too much love or the obsession, he cannot differentiate love, death, and fantasy. Okay? So that leads to self-destruction or unhealthy love. Okay? Do you get me? Alright, thank you so much. So that's it for the summary of the literary piece. Now, let's proceed to the insight. Okay? So the first insight is loss is an inevitable part of human experience. Alright, so our life or everything that we have is temporary. Okay? Nothing is permanent. So we are going, or all of us are going to die. Well, that may sound a little bit scary, but that's the reality. We are going to die. So, our body, we don't own our body. It was borrowed, okay? We borrowed this body from our Creator. So, everything is temporary. So, loss or losing someone, losing our loved one is normal. We cannot stop that. Okay, so what we're going to do is to accept that death is inevitable. We are going to accept the fact that everything around us is temporary. So while we are still alive, let's enjoy, right? Let's do the things that makes us happy. Don't let fear stops you. But again, there's a limitation, all right? So, we can be happy without hurting other people. And that's something that we should know. And I guess, and I know that everyone already know that. Okay, so I will give the floor, or I will give the monitor to teacher or to Miss Austria for the next insight.
Alright, thank you, Miss Francis. Now for my personal insight about this poem is that devotion could also turn into obsession. Yes, it is possible. So, by reading the poem, you notice that, I'm sure everyone noticed that the speaker's love for Annabelle was so intense, it was so pure, and it was so strong. But after her death, that same love becomes all-consuming, right? Yes, his devotion doesn't fade over time. Instead, it grows deeper. But it went too much that it already controls every part of his life. So he cannot move on. He still lives in the past. He keeps on replaying their memories and living with it. That's why he cannot move forward. So, the very relatable example that I could give, that I could also relate to us young adults, is that, for example, when we are, let me ask first, who among here are still suffering, not suffering, who just got their heart broken? So, kasi may mga heartbroken na rin. So, for example, is, after a breakup, right? So, who among here already experienced the boyfriend and girlfriend thing or any kind of romantic relationship? So, it's so hard for us to let go after a breakup, right? Like, I know some of you here might be guilty for like checking their social media, stalking. Even me, I'm so guilty. Stalking, back reading your old messages, and then replaying your past memories constantly. So at first, this comes from love and missing someone, of course. But over time, it can become emotional obsession. Yes, so it makes it hard for us. It makes it even hard for us to heal and move forward. So just like the speaker who can't let go of Annabelle. So the speaker still lives in the memory of what was in the past. So another one is that we confuse deep love with dependence. So young people, or us, young people, often experience that love that is so intense, especially if it's still the first. But when love becomes the only source of happiness or your identity, it could turn from devotion to emotional dependency. So there are time where your mood depends on them. Like, if something bad happens, like if you had an argument, your whole day is so affected. That worst case scenario is that even the grades are affected, right? So the lesson from Poe's poem is that love should uplift you and not consume you. So again, the Annabelle Lee, or the poem Annabelle Lee, reminds us that love is powerful, yes, and it is beautiful. But if we hold on it too much, too tightly, it can trap us in sadness or fantasy. And then real love grows and accepts change. And while obsession refuses to let go. That would be all, and thank you for listening, everyone. Have a good day.